Thanking you all for joining us. And Liam, if I can have the next slide. So a little bit of an outline on what to expect, and this session is recorded and we can share it with you and anyone else that might be interested in finding out more about our engineering development program and our graduate offerings in general. I'd like to introduce your speakers, people that are here, to introduce you to their experiences. So I'm Kate Kotiou, I'm the ABL Group Learning and Development Manager. I've been kind of in charge of the engineering development program together with, not kind of in charge together with Jake, Stuart, and newly Liam has been added to our team. So we will all be responsible for looking after you if you make it into the final selection. We've got Stuart Mill, who's got 40 years of working experience, and I'll let him introduce himself. Stuart, do you want to say hi to everyone and introduce yourself?
Welcome, everybody. As Kate said, my name is Stuart Mill. I've been involved with the engineering development program for the last 2 years. I've got 40 years in the industry overall, mostly in the commercial side and latterly in contracts and legal side. I started in a shipyard in the 1970s and I've enjoyed my career thoroughly, and I hope you guys listening will be able to set out on a course and have a good career in front of you. I'll speak to you all later. Thank you. Liam.
Hi everyone.
That sounded a bit stern. Liam.
Hi everyone. Yep, my name's Liam, and it's great to see so many of you join us today. I am in the L&D department, so I work under Kate, and I've been working at ABL Group since May this year. Prior to that, I was a school teacher for over 10 years in the UK and overseas in China as well. So I'm really excited to be here today and can't wait to meet you all and get to know you all a little bit further as we go through this process. Thank you.
Liam, can you mute yourself and then I'll unmute me? That's okay. You need to, anyway, it's okay. We'll do it from your microphone, but now you stop sharing your screen as well.
Yeah, I know, I can see because the screen's.
Oh, it's okay. Forgive the technical glitch.
While Liam's doing that, I can introduce myself. I'm Jake Anderson. I look after engineering within the ABL Group. I haven't got as much experience as Stuart. I stopped counting at 20 years. So somewhere between 20 and 40. You guys will have to guess. So yeah, welcome. Thank you for joining the webinar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for that, Jake. Can everyone hear me loud and clear? Because me and Liam are sharing the microphone, so I hope you guys can hear me okay. So yeah, thanks for the introduction, Jake. Jake. Sorry, it's been a long day as well. Instead of us talking a lot outside of the program, we thought it would be better if we brought on some people that have been through or are going on the program right now to talk about their experience. So we've got Amy Barker, who's a naval architect and is currently placed with OWC London. We've got Umberto. Umberto is an offshore and renewable energy engineer. He's currently based in Longitude, New York, but he's been around and he's going to talk to you about his experience. And then finally, Jasper, who's a structural engineer with Longitude in London. Again, also Jasper is going to talk to you about where he's been and what he's done. Then we're going to close with a little bit about the company. Who are we? Well, we're going to start, with a little bit about the company. Who are we? What we do? And then talk a little bit about the program and how do we apply. So I'd like to hand over to Jake to do the introduction to the company. And if you have any questions, please put them in the chat, put them in the Q&A. We'll deal with them as we go along or towards the end. Over to you, Jake.
Okay, thanks, Kate. If you can move on a slide, Liam, please. So in ABL, what we say is we are the energy and marine consultants, and our strapline is We are the leading independent global energy and marine consultancy working in energy and oceans to de-risk and drive the energy transition, which is quite a mouthful. So what I'll do is just briefly talk about some of the things we do. You can find out more on our website, of course. So we work across three marine sectors. We work in the renewables industry, do a lot of work in offshore wind. We work in maritime with ships and ship-related activities. And we work in oil and gas energy. So that's where we work. And really, we divide what we do into three things, into consultancy and engineering. So we help from the early stages of planning and concept select of projects, all the way through to doing the nuts and bolts design work. We work in loss prevention, which means while a project is being constructed, we have people on site, like this person here in their boiler suit on the back of a tug, put people on vessels, on offshore wind farms, on platforms, actually seeing, real construction. And then we have people who work in loss management. So when it all goes wrong, like the ship on the beach, we get involved and work for the insurers to work out how the situation can be rectified. I think what's really great is we do all three of those things. And, to design and build something, you've got to have an idea about what can go wrong. And so there's lots of learning that can take place across those three different things we do. And then down the side there's a list of, some specific activities of design and the likes. Okay, thanks, Liam.
Yeah.
We're all over the place. Actually, this slide is out of date, but to be frank, it's out of date every week because we've opened another office somewhere. We've actually got 1,600 people now, and I think we've got 64 offices. So basically, we're everywhere. Thank you. And then sort of how do we present ourselves? ABL is a group, and we have 4 brands within that group because we work in all sorts of, we do lots of different things within the energy and marine industry. We actually have different brands so that clients can more easily understand what it is we do. So we have OWC that focuses very much on renewable energy consultancy. They get involved really early in projects. They might be advising all the way from advising governments to advising developers to doing early concept design work for developers, and then running a whole offshore wind farm project as owner's engineer. We have Longitude, which basically is the design house, and actually that's where I spend most of my time. We design stuff, so we might actually be working on the same projects as OWC. OWC are managing it, and Longitude are actually doing the design work. And then we have ABL, which is like the sort of consultancy, if you like. But ABL does a lot of the loss prevention and loss management work. And then we've got AGR, which is actually a new company that's joined us recently, and they're very much involved in wells and software and reservoirs, which is very interesting, particularly when we think of carbon capture and exciting new projects like that. Thank you. I think this is always a great slide. I'm always quite amazed, to be honest, that we've worked on 33 floating offshore wind farm projects. I'm not sure how many people knew there were 33. Anyway, we've worked on 33 of them, and we worked on 150 gigawatts of offshore wind. So renewables is really important to the company. We've got targets to achieve 50% revenue in renewables by a certain date. And we want to be ahead of the curve when it comes to renewables and energy transition across all of the industries that we work in. Thank you. I'm not going to say any more about the company generally, because you can go away and do your research. And I think you'll learn more by listening to people who are actually on the program at the moment and find out what they're learning about on a day-to-day basis. So I'm going to hand over to Amy now, who has done, well, I mustn't say anything. You might say it. So here's Amy.
Thank you, Jake. Yes, hello. I'm Amy, and I'm currently in the second year of the engineering development program. Next slide, please, Liam. Thanks. So, just a bit about me. Before I started the EDP, I studied ship science at Southampton University. After which I joined ABL, where I started off with Longitude in the Southampton office, doing working in the naval architecture and hydrodynamics teams. And then where I am currently is OWC London, and I'm working more as an engineering consultant within ports and harbours and cables teams. And also, sort of aside from your everyday role, there are many opportunities to develop yourself with an ABL group. So an example of where I did that is as shown in the picture here. I was given the opportunity to give a presentation with my colleague on engineering net zero ships during shipping week at the ABL Maritime Market Briefing, which was a really good experience. So yeah, now I'll move on to in more detail to my experiences so far. Thank you. So whilst at Longitude, I was lucky enough to be involved in a wide range of projects. And I really enjoyed having Longitude as my first placement, as it allowed me to build on what I learned at university. And I was able to develop a strong technical background, which has been really helpful when moving on to OWC. In terms of the work I carried out, I chose to have sort of a good split between vessel design and hydrodynamics projects. And we'd often get the opportunity to work on projects with other teams and entities within the group, which is really enjoyable to collaborate, and it was good to learn from people with different ranges of expertise. And the majority of the work I did was in hydrodynamics, and that doesn't just involve vessels, it can involve floating offshore wind structures as well. And that sort of sparked my interest in a rotation to OWC. And finally, I also got to do a site attendance whilst with Longitude, where we were inspecting the vessel's deck structure underneath the flight deck. So I got to go in a cherry picker, which was fun. And it was really cool to see a structure in person. And it gives you a better understanding of the scale of the vessel. And it's much bigger than you think it is always. Okay, next slide, please. So where I am now, which is OWC, I've opted again to split my time between two teams because I would like to get a very broad experience from my time at the EDP. And the flexibility that the scheme gives you is very refreshing. And line managers are always supportive with finding projects and roles that help you towards fulfilling any gaps you have in chartership or development objectives. So within the Renewable Ports and Harbours team, I've got involved with the port suitability assessments for offshore wind and also for alternative fuel storage. And within the ports team, there are also opportunities for site visits and inspections. And there's pictures from the ports team before I joined, sadly, but I think it was Port of Nig in Scotland, which looks very sunny on this day. And also another thing which I'm really interested in is the cables team. And that work involves determining the route of the cable from the wind farm to a point on the shore, which we call landfall. And this can involve identifying all hazards on the seabed, such as shipwrecks and any geological features. And we use that information along with requirements of cable installation operations in order to determine a cable route. It's something that's quite new for me, but it's really interesting. And I've been able to use some of what I learned during my Longitude cables analysis into this work. And I've enjoyed getting a broad understanding of the cables installation process as a whole. And overall, I mean, there's a really wide variety of work that you can get involved with at OWC especially. And yeah, no, that summarizes my experiences so far. So I'll hand over to Umberto. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy, and good day, everyone. Thanks for joining this webinar. With the next few, I'm Umberto Varbaro. I'm offshore and renewable energy engineer at Longitude Engineering, and I'm currently based in New York City. And with the next few slides, I'd like to introduce my experience in the engineering development scheme focusing on the crossover between naval architecture and marine renewables. So a bit, Liam, could you click? I think there is some unintended animations. Perfect, thank you. So a bit about me. I studied at the University of Southampton, where I graduated with a Master of Engineering in Ship Science, which consists of naval architecture and marine engineering studies. I have the luck to do a semester abroad as part of my third year exchange at Webb Institute in New York, which is an institute dedicated exclusively to naval architecture. And after my studies, I joined the ABL Group in the engineering development scheme, for which up to now I did 4 rotations. So the first one in Longitude, same as Amy actually, in our office in Southampton, which is pretty much focused on design and engineering of small crafts, among other services. So my main focus was on naval architecture that year. And my second rotation was at INOC. INOC is part of, in Nantes in France, INOC is part of OWC, and it's really our research and development hub across the group, where you can work on new technologies and in research and development. And here I focus only on renewable, basically marine energies, on offshore wind and floating solar. Third rotation was at OWC in London, UK, which is our biggest office in the group. And I continue to support marine renewables through offshore wind and wave energy. And finally, as mentioned, now I'm in Longitude, supporting maritime and offshore wind sectors. So this slide was about the sectors. Could you click again, Liam, on the... Thank you very much. So the previous slide was you've seen the different sectors I've been involved in, and I put this slide here to show you a bit more in detail some examples of scope of works or activities I've been involved in the different placements, to give you that broad overview of the opportunities within the scheme. The first year at Longitude, being naval architecture, I've been involved in stability analysis, structural analysis with first principles, rule-based and prescriptive standards, or finite element analysis. And then I worked on associated tasks such as 3D modeling and review of engineering and fabrication drawings. I also had the chance to do some ship surveys, which was really interesting, inspecting the part of the vessel on which then you had to do the engineering assessment for. And I also enjoyed some project managing support and client interface exposure during my first year. At INOC, again, mainly on the marine renewable side, on offshore wind and floating solar, I worked on hydrodynamic assessments of floating structure, with a focus really on mooring design for floating wind. On the floating solar side, I was involved in some concept designs, which were really interesting because different disciplines come together, such as electrical, the yield assessment and other aspects. I also performed some operation and maintenance strategy advisory. And then, as you know, as mentioned, we have a strong research and development capabilities. So being involved in a few EU-funded projects, which are really good because they make sure you're at the forefront of some technologies and studies to get expertise on those. And also on the side, as my primary role, on the side of my primary role, I also managed to have some business development exposure with attending some conferences. You can see a picture on the right, top right of the screen. That's me presenting in Amsterdam at a floating solar forum in the year well out INOC. Third rotation, again, OWC, it was still marine renewables, but you can see yet different technical aspects. Examples here were development cost and so DevEx and project development support, particularly for offshore wind. More on the technical engineering side, I had the exposure to transport and installation advisory studies, as well as subsea cable routing and risk assessments. And my main project actually at OWC was co-location studies between renewable energies, in this case, mainly between wind and wave, which is being quite researched recently worldwide. And finally, this year at Longitude in New York, I kept working on some construction, transport, and installation studies, again, mainly on offshore wind. I also worked on port studies, again, mainly on the renewable infrastructure, making sure they were suited for purpose for these offshore wind installations, and then CapEx cost modeling support for auctions, for offshore wind auctions. And I'm glad that I had the chance. It's always good to have that on-site experience, to manage to go for on-site supervision for a few weeks on a ship, as well as to perform some condition surveys of vessels. So on the picture on the bottom right of the screen, you can see myself heading towards Staten Island for a survey from our Manhattan based office we have here. So in the bottom of the screen there, I just wanted to highlight, really, as you have heard, and you'll probably keep hearing in this presentation, the variety of interesting project challenges and skills that you can apply. I really appreciate working with different teams, different as well type of clients. You learn from that a lot. They can be energy developers, investors, governments, EPC, stage of the projects, really from design stage to decommissioning almost sometimes, technologies. With all these new technologies, you've seen some here, but we also have exposure to hydrogen, battery energy storage, and other new technologies like that, and geographies as well, which keep the whole scheme and collaboration really international, and having the opportunity to really work with many great colleagues around the world. That's what I wanted to present. So I will hand over to Jasper.
Yep, thanks, Umberto. Welcome, everybody. Happy to be here, and thanks everyone for joining us. So my name's Jasper. I'm in the same year as Amy on the EDP. So this year, for my second year, I've joined Longitude, still based in London. I'm working as a structural engineer this year. However, today I just want to touch upon what I got into last year, my first rotation in ABL. So again, a little bit about me. I graduated in last summer of 2022, with a master's in mechanical engineering. Did a placement year as well. That was at Tata Steel. So that was exciting. And as I said, currently on my second year of the EDP. Next slide, please. So getting straight into the meat of things. My first year, I was put in the team in the ABL London Maritime team, supporting a senior sort of naval architect with marine expert witness work. So one of the first projects I was involved in included finite element analyses, sort of simulating forces of a ship's belting, so the sort of outer surface of a ship during its berthing into a dock. And there was a legal case, as a kind of dispute around should there have been as much damage as there was. So we were trying to kind of replicate reality through finite element software. The one thing I kind of took away from all this kind of work was it's kind of like being a detective, and it's using engineering to sort of see what has happened and try and put all the pieces of the puzzle together and find out why that's happened and who might be at fault for those things. So that was very exciting. And get to use sort of theoretical knowledge that you sort of bring with you from your degree. And then a second case I was involved in was slightly different. So I was sort of corroborating both CCTV data and footage, and AIS data, so that's automatic identification system data, so sort of plots of where ships go and where they've been, sort of putting all those things together, time-stamping them, and kind of coming up with a narrative or a story of what could have happened. So in this case, there was a vessel that was moored against the dock. Its sort of mooring lines had essentially snapped due to wave wash. So some big waves from passing vessels had caused it to come off of its mooring, and we were just kind of investigating why, really. And this kind of work is usually quite fast paced. There's lots of sort of things at stake, really. The first case you can see, the person getting sued, I suppose, was doing so for the sum of $1 million, £1 million. So that's always a good bit of pressure as well. Next slide, please. And just want to touch upon as well some other work I did whilst I was in the team. So one of the first projects I was involved in was an emergency response study. So that was for a large oil and gas provider out in the Middle East. And that was essentially looking at what systems they had in place currently at the time to respond in the case of an emergency to vessels, sort of unmanned vessels or vessels that don't have their own power, becoming detached from a vessel that perhaps does have its own power and drifting slowly towards any offshore assets such as oil, offshore oil rigs. So we were looking at what systems they had in place to tackle that at the time, and then conducting what's called a gap analysis to see what they need to sort of adequately respond in emergencies. So that involved using metocean analyses, and again, as I mentioned in the last project, AIS data, so looking at where vessels go, general trends of vessel movements, and trying to sort of work out the best solution to respond in an emergency. As well, I sort of supported the head of risk analysis in shipping with filtering of AIS data. So that kind of overlaps with the renewable sort of realm and OWC's work. So I was looking into essentially where is the best place to set up an offshore wind farm based on existing traffic lanes, and what would have to be done to maybe place them around traffic lanes, or if there was no possibility of that, how could the fishermen or cargo vessels or whoever is using those traffic lanes at the time, how could it be arranged for them to have this offshore wind farm? And then lastly, I was also involved in bids and project proposals. So a lot of the time there's quite sort of competitive sort of market out there for different companies who bid for the same work. So in my first week, I was involved in a bid put out by the Ministry of Defence. So we actually ended up winning that one, and that's really interesting project about sort of Ministry of Defence related recs and putting them into a database. And yeah, really involved a lot of collaboration, not just sort of in the ABL group, so reaching out to people in OWC and NOC and Longitude to try and pull together a sort of skill set to strengthen the sort of the bid from ABL, but also working across companies and sort of setting up consortiums with other companies to try and strengthen bids and try and win work. So next slide, please. And on the slightly less technical side, sort of extra development that I've been involved in the last year. So like Amy so ABL puts on maritime market briefings in Lloyd's of London. So that's sort of downstairs in the old library building. So if anyone does manage to join the EDP and join the London office, yeah, definitely recommend getting involved in that, because there's plenty of scope there for people to work on their presentation skills and just kind of get into the thick of the sort of London marine insurance market. I've been lucky enough to attend a couple of training courses. One was a port familiarization course out in Falmouth with some maritime clients. I also traveled to Bilbao in northern Spain this year, rather last minute, but it was very exciting to oversee sort of a safe load out of 4,500 tons of mooring chains. So that was over the span of a few days, and I was kind of the MWS marine warranty surveyor, the person in charge of making sure that everything is done correctly and safely. And lastly, I've been able to make amazing friends in the London office, and we sort of keep each other motivated, going for runs, do a lot of rock climbing. We all go to the gym together, and we have a great social club as well in the London office. I really feel like I'm trying to sell the London office here. That wasn't my idea, but yes, so it's been great so far. I'll just hand back over to Jake. Thank you.
Thanks, Jasper. So I'll just give you a bit of an introduction to the actual engineer development program that we run here. What we do is we take people on from university, and then we give them a year of basically employment in 4 different offices over that year. What we think is we do so many different things as a company. If you just stay in one place, you of course you will develop as an engineer, but you will develop so much more if you move around and see different things that we do, particularly when you're in your early stages of your career, where you're receptive to lots of different things. So the basis of our international or rotation program is that you spend a year in an office, and then after 12 months you move to another one. And by the end of 4 years, you've got a great grounding in engineering, and actually you've got a really good idea about where you want to go in your life and your career as an engineer. So this really is just indicative, you know, it's an example of some of the places that you might go. I mean, you'll certainly spend some time in a Longitude office. Longitude employ quite a few early career engineers, people direct from university. So I'm very confident that at some time you'll spend some time in Longitude. ABL, we've got lots of offices around the world, and often to work in an ABL office, it's helpful if you've had a bit of experience beforehand, so you can go out and do surveys and get your hands dirty. So ABL offer, we have placements in ABL offices as well. AGR is relatively new to us, so we're just working out now what an AGR placement might be. And OWC also, they employ lots of people at the earlier stages of their career, so there are lots of opportunities in OWC. We can't say today what order they'll be, because it depends on who we recruit, depends on your discipline, it depends on the company's needs, but we certainly try and accommodate everyone's desires and ambitions and interests, and we just have to align them with the company. We do also employ graduates that we call direct entries, so that's basically employed within an office for immediate need to satisfy the immediate needs of that office. So the people like that, they might come in and they might sit in an office and work there, and they don't rotate round, but we would nevertheless endeavor to give you experience, maybe through work on intercompany opportunities and that kind of thing, of other things we do. But really this talk is about the EDP, the rotations. So the basis of the scheme, we give you a technical mentor, and that person is someone who's more experienced within the group, who can really help you develop. We provide logbook templates, so you can keep the record of your on-the-job training that you receive, which will help with a submission to a professional organization should you wish to seek a chartered engineer status. We provide links to the other people on the program, so you have like peer mentors really, as well as technical mentors. We provide support for chartership applications, and we really try and provide as much exposure to different kinds of work. You know, I'm reiterating again, but as an engineer, when you start out, you want to work for as many people as you can and try as many different things as you can, so you can really get a great foundation. But there are other experiences as well. There's finance. Sea time is quite a tricky thing to organize. It's a bit ad hoc at the moment, but we do try and get people sea time when we can. Finance, who would have thought finance is important? Well, it is, because we're a business. So actually giving people exposure of how a company works as well. But one of the really big things about the EDP is it's so well known in the company. if you're a graduate, if you're someone working, an engineer working on the EDP, on the Engineer Development Program, you are known in the group and you've got a high profile and people get to know you. Thank you. So I think in some ways this maybe reiterates that a little bit, those benefits to the individual that we've talked about, some work experience. We try and fit in an international rotation as well, so you get a chance of working overseas. You build up an internal network, but that, you know, it's not, we're not being completely altruistic. There are benefits to us as well as a company. You know, we want people to join us who are our ambassadors through the company, but may well end up being those senior people in the company as well. You know, we need people who know all the different things that we do and that they will develop quickly through the company. Thank you. And then, so what will you achieve? You've been through university, you've had a very structured education so far, and it's really time to develop those skills. It's you know, this is real life now. You've learned about some theory at university, but it's developing real engineering skills, and then how those engineering skills apply to different fields and markets. You know, it's not theory anymore, it's theory, it's reality. And I think you'll learn flexibility and adaptability as well. Businesses change, projects change. We're talking about energy transition now. You know, we weren't talking about that 5 or 10 years ago. It wasn't even on people's agenda. And now it's a massive part of what we do. So it's being flexible and adaptable to adapt to changing circumstances. And you'll achieve exposure to working, hopefully overseas, but certainly within different teams as well. On the right-hand side, I've just got to say, we are accredited with ICE, IMechE, RINA, and recently with, ICE, IMarEST, RINA, and recently with IMechE. That's just come in now. So we're actually accredited with 4 of the professional institutions. Thank you. And then some fancy graphics to show people having a nice time. I'm not going to guarantee everyone's going to go sailing every week, but some people have, and some people have been in kayaks. I think Jasper, you know, he touched on the fact that it's not all about work. We are a team here, and it's really important. Engineers are pack animals. We have to work as teams. So we have to be friends with each other as well as colleagues, and we have to trust each other. So we do, it's fantastic when I see people, you know, who are ABL employees and they're all getting on. And for Jasper to say he's got friends in the office is great. And then finally, a couple of recommendations. So we've been running the program for 10 years now, and actually Kevin Sersky on the left, he was one of the early people who was on the program. He was the managing director for Norway for several years. There you go, he's saying some nice things about it, but he's worked on so many different projects. He's actually transferred to Canada now because that's what he wanted to do. And same with Maria, she was with the program as well, and she's now the country manager in Greece. So really, just so you can see that, you know, that this is real. This program is it can really help your career within ABL. So now I'm just going to hand over to Kate, who can talk about the application process.
Thanking you all for joining us and sharing your experiences. It's been so heartwarming to hear you talk about the program, Jake, and all of you, Amy, Jasper, and Umberto. I can say I feel like a proud mama hen, and you guys always never fail to bring a smile of satisfaction to my face, because these are all really good, really good people, and we're proud to and lucky to have you in ABL Group. So regarding the application process, there's some questions as well. I'm going to answer some of the questions as I go. Someone asked, do you receive applications from overseas? Yes, we do. For this year, we're also running a parallel arm to this program for people that are based in APAC, so that's Asia Pacific. But the criteria for your applications are on the website, and we'll be running a separate webinar for people that are applying for the Asia Pac session, part of the program, because there's some particularities regarding the area. But if you want to be sure whether you're eligible or not, please refer to the job ad that we have on our website. There's also a copy of that on GradCracker, so have a look at that. We're currently receiving all those applications. Applications opened on the 25th of October, and we'll be accepting the applications until the 31st of December. So the deadline is 31st of December. Let me say that again. So don't wait until after Christmas to apply. Maybe you take your break, you start your break early, and you take some time to give some thought to your application. We are going to be running a short Q&A. So I've seen that there's already some questions in the chat. Some I've answered, the rest, but I'm going to read through all of them now. And then if you are invited, if you are successful, you will receive an invitation for the 8th of February. Now it says here you will receive an invitation the 4th of February. We will definitely try and give you at least 2 weeks notice for the assessment day. So you have some time to plan accordingly. The assessment day is a whole day that we spend in the London office, and we run people through several different activities, nothing scary. And Jasper, Umberto, and Amy can tell you that it wasn't as scary as it sounds. It was actually fun. We all had lunch. There was networking drinks after, so everything went very nice and smooth. But yeah, so I'll start taking questions now, and I'll read some of the ones that I've answered for the sake of everyone. So there is one that says, I've already sent an application for the graduate program in November. Do you have an idea? I explained to that we expect to let you know the outcome by end of January. And you should know at least, we'll try to do it at least 2 weeks before the assessment day. We've done a recap of the recruitment process. So I'm not going to get into that. Someone asked for the slides to be sent to their email. We will be communicating that, and we will be sending all the slides to your emails. Now, there's a few technical questions that I will direct to my colleagues that I can't reply. One of them is, what strategies, plans, and technologies have been put in place to ensure ABL's advancement towards alternative energy sources other than wind and petroleum? Now, we do know that we do things like INASEA is our R&D hub, so they do floating solar, they do different technologies, but I don't know if Jake or anyone of our young engineers would like to take that question.
Well, I mean, I can say we have an energy transition officer who's called Ahalan, who sits at the very top of the company, and he is there to really drive through some of these things you've described. What is our strategy? And we have different strategies in different regions, depending on what's going on politically and what the opportunities are. But I can say that we have objectives related to energy transition, and we have drive to do that. And, you know, you look at our website, and energy transition is, you know, it's there, it's front and center. So yeah, I could talk for an hour or two on our strategy, but I don't think that's probably the best way to spend my time. What I suggest is you have a read of our website.
But also go on LinkedIn. We regularly update people on all the initiatives and all the research that is being done within the company. So I think LinkedIn is another very good place for you to find the answers. Sorry, Jake, I got through there. I don't know if there was anything you wanted to add. Yeah, all good. So there's a question about a graduate data scientist, data analyst work scope at ABL. This is not one of the disciplines that we're currently recruiting for. So this is an engineering development program, but we don't do data analysis or data engineering at the moment. I don't know, Jake, if you wanted to add anything. We do have a budding and a growing software arm, but it's still in its infancy, and we don't for the purposes of accreditation, we have to stick to specific disciplines that we recruit. I don't know, Jake, if I answered that okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing we'd say is that we will recruit we're happy to recruit people who have got a good technical foundation.
Yeah,
so
foundation.
We've employed physicists before, we've employed various people like that, provided they can demonstrate that they're interested in what we do. So as Kate says, we don't have a data analysis department, but if your passion is the same as ours, and you've got a technical degree, then by all means apply.
Yeah. Someone asked, thank you for that, Jake, and I think that rounds up the question nicely. Someone asked if we can, does ABL sponsor a PhD in that topic? This is a little bit, it really depends on the person, on whether this is a valuable investment for the company. We would have to examine it on a case-by-case basis. So this is not something that I can answer right now because it's a little bit theoretical, but we have done that in the past. We do take it on a case-by-case basis. Someone asked if they were eligible to apply, or is this only for 2023 graduates? I think a recent graduate, we would accept applications provided that you don't have a crazy amount of experience before, because this is meant to be an engineering development program. So if you're already a developed engineer, I would argue that why would you want a starting position? For someone with half a year or a year's worth of experience, we would consider your application, yes. And someone else asked about age limit. No, the age is not an issue here. What we're looking for, like I said, is someone who's junior in levels of experience. If you have just graduated, it doesn't matter how old you are. All that matters is what's your level of experience and when did you graduate, really. So I hope that answers that question as well. Someone asked how they can update their visa status on their application. Please do send us an email. You should have a contact email attached to your response that we sent you after you filled out the application. So please email us there. Assessment venues, because I live in Scotland, we can do, so what we did last year, there were people, if you were in the UK, we gave people some notice, and people traveled down to London for the assessment day, and we covered reasonable expenses, but that was only for cases where for candidates that we really wanted to interview. However, we also did a virtual assessment day, so that could be an option if going face-to-face is not the right thing for you to do. And then there's a question for you, I think, Jake. It says, hello, what company out of the 4 will be most suited for chemical process engineers, and what work should they expect to perform?
So actually, we took on our first chemical engineer last year, chemical engineer graduate. The main opportunities are within OWC, where there's a small process team working in hydrogen systems and advisory, but also within Longitude, we have process capability as well. It's quite a small team at the moment, but we're looking to grow, and that would be involved in the design of process systems.
Thank you for that, Jake, and I think that answers your question. Jorge, someone said, Michael asked, could you please describe the key criteria or qualities you look for an ideal candidate for your program? Well, you've seen 3 of those ideal candidates for the program in this call. So aside from the technical expertise, because all 3 people that you've met today, Jasper, Umberto, and Amy, they're all very good technically, but we're also looking for people that can give something a little bit extra to the program, whether that be technical leadership and technical expertise, technical excellence, or leadership qualities. So we also use it as a talent identification program. And it can go either way, it can go both ways. But we look, I'd say that for me, the most important thing would be flexibility and adaptability. And I think, Jasper, you already mentioned that. But I don't know if Amy, Jasper, or Umberto, you can say one thing that you think makes you special, or one thing that you think we selected you because of that unique character that you have, characteristic that you have. I'm putting you on the spot a little bit now. But it's okay. Umberto, why did we hire you?
I assume, technical competence, and apart from that, I guess some of the perhaps soft skills, as you mentioned, like adaptability, flexibility. I lived already in 3 countries before applying the scheme, and I studied abroad, and for instance, so and then generally, I guess, soft skills come to play, I guess, and they're assessed while we do the assessment day or in the process as well.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Jasper, any thoughts on that?
I would probably just say do your best to sort of be open to any opportunities and adaptable, because it's such a unique opportunity to not only be able to travel abroad, but also to span 4 different companies that tackle 4 very different areas of engineering, but also overlap with each other. So yeah, be open and be adaptable, I'd say.
Thank you for that, Jasper. That's a really good answer. And thanks, Umberto, as well. Amy, do you want to add something to this?
Yeah, sure. I think for me, maybe it was like a common interest in like zero emissions and driving the industry to be more sustainable. Because I've really enjoyed working in projects where I get to contribute towards that. And yeah, just being flexible and wanting to do a lot of different things, even if it's not what your engineering discipline is, I think is really important as well.
Thank you for that, Amy. And I think
Thanks.
that ties in, that answers the questions really nicely, but we're also talking about this flexibility. Now, I'm conscious of time, so I'll try to go through some of those questions quickly. But if for some reason we don't have enough time to answer some of your questions, we will answer them online and send you a copy of that to your emails, or send an answer via email. Someone asked if we accept applications for 2025. We don't yet. We will at the next year's run. So in 2024, we do recruitment for 2025. So feel free to apply next year. Biomedical engineers, I'm sorry, we are not, this is not one of the disciplines that we're hiring today. It might be that we hire next year, you never know, because the company is expanding, but biomedical, I think, would be a stretch. I don't know what you think about that, Jake. For people who live abroad, does ABL provide support? So we do support with rotations. We do support with rotations from one country to another. And it depends on where you're being placed. We are also quite considerate in terms of where we place people to try and accommodate. Like, for instance, if you are an EU national, we might place you in one of our offices in the EU. That means that you don't require a visa, but we also provide support with relocations. You can apply for direct entry without rotation. I think Jake already mentioned that there is that opportunity. So if someone wants to apply for the direct entry program, that means that you're placed in a single office. We are working on structuring that a little bit better and keep providing more guidance and training for our direct entries as well. Jake, one for you. Will you have construction project management department? We don't, do we? We have a project management department, but not in construction. ABL does not do construction. We do energy and maritime, but we don't have construction. Are there software development scopes in renewable energy? I don't know about that part, Jake. Perhaps you can help me out.
Yep. Or I mean, so within InnerSea, there is some software development. It's not particularly commercial. It's more in-house tools. But we do have a software house in AGR, but they're not really renewables-ish.
But there is
we're selling software to the NHS, but I'm not sure we're selling it into renewables yet.
So that's asset integrity management. So we are looking into expanding. There is a software branch, and we do have software on asset integrity management. We're looking to expand that in the renewable sector, but it's not happened yet. And we have recently acquired a smaller company that's called DWP, Delta Wind Partners, which is based in Denmark. And they do have a software that they sell, which is called Hyper, which is basically measuring, again, it's similar to asset integrity management, but for offshore wind turbines. That's the extent of my knowledge, but you feel free to go on LinkedIn, go on our website, and check a little bit more the prerequisites. Someone else asked about the qualities. I think we answered that question. We have a recent electrical engineering graduate with focus on renewables. We do have a strong electrical engineering team in OWEC. That person is asking to briefly outline training and roles. So I don't know if we can outline, if I can outline that. I don't know if you can outline that, Jake, at the moment.
Sorry.
So there is a question about someone who is a recent electrical engineering graduate with a focus on renewables.
Yeah.
There is a placement available within OWEC for that.
Yep. We've got, I mean, as a company, we've got more than 40 electrical engineers. We have them in ABL and in OWEC. you know, even the ABL ones, we use that electrical team for zero emissions ships. There's all sorts of opportunities. Absolutely. Yeah, we want electrical people, please.
Perfect. Someone else is asking, how does a company help with regard to relocating to a foreign office? Is the support? So in the past, we've been a little bit more unstructured, and I'm not going to lie about that. I have 3 people that have been through processes, but we are organizing ourselves better. The kind of support that we're providing is some depending again on where you're being placed. So if it's a placement from Southampton to Exeter, for instance, obviously you wouldn't require that much assistance, but we would provide support with accommodation. Language courses, we don't do that yet, but perhaps that's one to examine, because the lingua franca of ABL, the language that everyone is expected to speak, is English. So that's a language that we live and breathe and work in. However, we do consider providing more assistance as required, depending again on the country and place of placement. So there was someone that talked, another electrical engineer, really good. Please do apply, Adith. Michael, hi Michael. Date of the assessment is fixed. So yes, the date of the assessment is fixed. However, if someone for an important reason cannot make that day, we can host a virtual day, but it would have to be an important reason for people to miss that day. We try to communicate well in advance, make sure we take into account people's availabilities. However, for operational reasons and for the availability of the office and of the people who are going to be conducting the assessment day, it's hard for us to move that around and reschedule. Only 2 more questions to go, and we're almost on time, so I'm very happy. So we've got someone that says that they studied oil and gas engineering in structural. Is the EDF branch of the ABL Group okay? Also, if someone has experience in non-engineering field, but so for this program, we're mostly looking for people's degrees. And if you had any hands-on experience, any sort of engineering hands-on experience, that would be a plus. Like I said, we're looking for people that have recently graduated or are looking to graduate in the next few months with perhaps a placement on internship somewhere. We're not looking for super experienced engineers because like it's in the title, it's an engineering development program. So it's meant to help people develop. But yeah, check our eligibility criteria, Jindima, and let us know if you have any questions. So someone asked, with a master's degree in petroleum technology, where do I fit in the engineering program? ABL, AGR and energy that do wells. Jake, I don't know if you want to answer that question much better way than I could.
Yeah. I mean, we work in oil and gas as well. We work in process. So, I mean, still more than half our revenue comes from oil and gas at this time. So it's an area that we need skilled people in. Yeah,
and part of our mentality is to try and transition and make sure that whatever oil and gas extraction we do is done in the most sustainable possible way. But also we are using the revenues from oil and gas to fund our renewables and allow for more growth in our renewables areas. But we're still very much active in that area as well. So if you do have similar experience, or if you do have a degree, please feel free to apply. Someone says, can you please do a little recap? I'm sorry, you're gonna have to watch our recording because we're right on time. If anyone has any other questions, you should have the email that you received from us, the contact email that you received from us when you apply to the program. But if you go on the application as well online, there's a contact email there. Feel free to reach us, ask any questions. We will be sharing the slides and the Q&A. If you have any friends, any colleagues, any classmates that you feel this is applicable to, and you feel that it would be of interest for them to apply, please don't hesitate to forward the application up to them. And yeah, I'd like to thank you all for your time, the presenters for their time, Jake and Liam and Stuart for their time. And we'll see you in due course. Hopefully we'll see you at assessment day. But thank you all for joining.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.